Okay, let's dive into this one. It seems like one of the most basic questions in business, right? But it actually hides this massive, massive problem. See, most companies, they have a strategy. They'll spend months, maybe even years developing it. But when you get right down to it, they just can't explain what it is in a simple sentence.
So, I'm going to ask you the exact same question the source material asks. Right now, can you summarize your company's strategy in 35 words or less? And here's the kicker. Would your colleagues describe it the exact same way? Yeah, the research is pretty clear on this. Very, very few executives can honestly say yes.
And look, this isn't just some hypothetical challenge, right? This simple 35-word test, it's actually an incredibly powerful diagnostic tool. The answer, your answer, reveals whether your whole organization is really set up for success or if it's just spinning its wheels, heading for a whole lot of confusion and wasted effort.
I mean, does this sound familiar to anyone? This quote? Wow. It comes from an employee at a company with a really fuzzy strategy, and it's painfully relatable for so many of us. It's that awful feeling of working your tail off, but on the wrong things, all because the big picture guiding principles were never made clear in the first place.
And here it is. Here's the dirty little secret behind all that frustration. If the leaders of a company can't explain the strategy in a simple way, well, there's just zero chance that anyone else in the organization can. And look, this isn't about people not being smart enough. It's about a lack of clarity at the very top that creates these huge, massive ripple effects all the way down.
So, what do those ripple effects actually look like inside a company? I mean, how bad can it get? Well, to really get a handle on the consequences of all this confusion, the source material gives us this absolutely brilliant visual metaphor. It's all about the difference between chaos and alignment.
Okay, picture this. Imagine every single employee in a big company, let's say 10,000 of them, is like a tiny little iron filing. Now, without any kind of guiding force, what do? They all just point in completely random directions. Everyone is smart, right? Everyone is working hard, but the net result? It's just chaos. It's just a mess of wasted energy.
Okay, so here's the before and after. On the left, you've got that chaos we just talked about, total mess. But on the right, look what happens when you bring in a powerful magnet. Boom! Suddenly, all 10,000 of those filings snap into perfect alignment, all pointing in the exact same direction. That, right there, is what a simple, clear strategy does. It's the magnet. It aligns thousands and thousands of individual choices, making the whole organization just exponentially more powerful.
So the big question is, how do you build that magnet? How do you actually create a strategy statement that gets everyone pointing in the same direction? Well, it turns out it all comes down to 3 absolutely essential components.
But first, we have to get really clear on what strategy even is, because it gets confused all the time. It is not your mission, your lofty why we exist statement. And it's not your vision, which is what you want to be someday. No. Your strategy is your competitive game plan for right now. It's about the tough choices you're making today to win in the marketplace. And that game plan has to clearly spell out 3 things. That's it, just 3. Your objective, your scope, and your advantage. If you can nail these 3, you've got yourself a truly powerful and, more importantly, actionable strategy.
All right, let's break these down. First up, the objective. This is the end goal, the what, and it has to be a single, precise target. It can't be some vague corporate speak like, we're going to maximize shareholder value. What does that even mean? No, it has to be specific, measurable, and have a deadline. Something like, we will become the #1 player in this market within 3 years. Everybody needs to know exactly what the finish line looks like.
Okay, next up is scope. Think of this as your domain, your playing field. It defines the part of the world where you're actually going to compete. Which customers are you going after? What geographic locations? And here's the most important part. It defines your boundaries. A really great scope statement makes it crystal clear what opportunities you are going to actively say no to.
And finally, we get to the big one, your advantage. This is the how. How are you going to win? It's really made of 2 parts. First, there's your value proposition. That's the promise you make to your customer. And second, there are the unique activities, the special sauce, the things you do behind the scenes that allow you and only you to actually deliver on that promise.
Okay, so this whole framework, objective, scope, advantage, it's not just theory, right? The absolute best way to see how this all clicks together is to look at it in the real world. So let's check out a great case study.
Okay, let's take a look at the brokerage firm Edward Jones. Their strategy is just so perfectly clear. What was their objective?
a super specific growth number by a specific year. Simple. Their scope? They targeted a very, very particular type of customer, conservative investors who just want to delegate their financial decisions. And their advantage? The whole thing was built on trusted, face-to-face advice, delivered through this really unique network of one-advisor offices. It's simple, it's powerful, and yep, it fits way under 35 words.
And this is what I love. It perfectly illustrates the power of making trade-offs. The entire advantage for Edward Jones is built on what it chooses not to do. They said no to online trading for day traders. They said no to complex, risky products. They said no to having big, flashy offices in downtown skyscrapers. Every single no just makes their core yes that much stronger.
I mean, just look at how different their choices make them from a competitor like Merrill Lynch. They're going after different customers, they have totally different office structures, they're selling different products. The key thing to get here is that neither one is inherently better than the other. They're just playing completely different games. And that is what real strategy looks like. It's about being different, not just trying to be the best at everything for everyone.
Here's another great way to see these trade-offs in action. This chart basically shows Walmart's value proposition. They make a very conscious choice to absolutely dominate on price. They over-deliver on that like crazy. But to make that happen, they have to under-deliver on other things, like fancy store decor or having a ton of personalized sales help. And that's not a failure. That's the strategy working exactly as it's supposed to.
So where is all this going? What's the point of all these choices? Your objective, your scope, your advantage? Well, they are all designed to do one thing: help you find and absolutely dominate a very specific area, what we call your strategic sweet spot.
And what is that sweet spot exactly? It's that magical place, that perfect intersection where what your customers really, truly need meets what your company is uniquely amazing at doing. And it all comes together in a way that your competitors just can't copy. Finding that space and then owning it, that's the whole ballgame. That's the entire point of strategy.
Which brings us all the way back to what might be the most powerful question of all. If a great strategy is really defined by its trade-offs, then the most important decisions you make aren't about what you're going to start doing, they're about what you're going to stop doing. So, as you think about your own company, your own team, your own strategy, I'll leave you with this question. To become truly exceptional at something, what are you willing to say no to?